The first station, Jesus is condemned to die. Beaten and weary, Jesus is brought before a judge. The crowd is asked to choose who will be saved. The name Barabbas rings out. Innocent, Jesus is condemned to death, betrayed by those who claim to love him, while the murderer Barabbas walks free. The Roman prefect of Judea, Pontius Pilate, washes his hands of guilt, and in doing so, washes his hands of Jesus. Evading the truth of his guilt means rejecting him. The second station, Jesus carries the cross. Jesus accepts his cross, knowing fully the agony to come. He takes upon his battered and bleeding shoulders the weight of all of our sins. Soon after taking up the cross, Jesus falls. So early in the way, he is on the ground, face down in the dust. The nearly overwhelming impact of the hideous crush of sin, the evil pressing down, makes Jesus stumble. All the while the crowd mocks and derides him. The fourth station, Jesus meets his sorrowful mother. Jesus meets his mother on the way. For a mother to see her son so wretched devastates her heart, and he yearns for her consolation. She who carried him in her womb, she who looked with joy upon the infant child at Bethlehem, she who fed him, taught him, worried over him, journeyed with him, is now helpless to save him. She stands by in love and constant prayer, never yielding to hatred for those who are turning away from him. She understands the need for love and its redemptive power, especially when faced with the cruelest evil. The fifth station, Simon helps Jesus carry his cross. Jesus allows Simon to assist him in carrying the cross. Simon is reluctant, initially refusing. Would people think he was a criminal too? How foolish of him and us to reject this invitation. Was there even a moment when Simon forgot his own discomfort and looked with compassion at Jesus? The sixth station, Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Veronica sees Jesus' need and offers to wipe the blood and sweat from his face. In such a little and tender way, she reflects his kindness and courage. Stepping out from the crowd, she risks jeers and public contempt, and thereby obtains the only approval that counts. From this small act comes the greatest blessing. She is given his image because she reflects him in her kindness. The seventh station, Jesus falls for the second time. When Jesus fell again, where were his friends? Why didn't even one of them step forward on his behalf? Was he angry or hurt by their actions? What was he thinking as he plunged to the ground for the second time? The eighth station, Jesus meets the weeping women of Jerusalem. The women weep for Jesus. Overcome with grief and despair, they wail loudly. The sorrowful tears of the weeping women flow freely as they recognize Jesus' pain and suffering. The ninth station, Jesus falls the third time. Taunted mercilessly by temptations to turn away from his friend's mission and weakened by the fatigue of constant pain, Jesus once again stumbles into the rocky dirt, all the while bearing the sneers, insults, and profanities of a blaspheming crowd. All those people watching, what were they thinking? Jesus had helped so many of them, but now not one of them had the courage to come forward. Were they frightened of the soldiers and of the angry crowd? Or was it simply that Jesus was no longer one of them, and so they let him fall? The 10th station, Jesus is stripped of his clothing. When they came to a place called Golgotha, the soldiers cast lots and divided his garments. His robe is sought like a carnival prize, a souvenir of execution. The soldiers leave him nothing. They place over his head the written charge against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. The 11th station, Jesus is nailed to the cross. Wounded, mangled, made to bleed, he consents to the violent attack of the hammer. Patient in his agony, he allows the nails to enter his body. Jesus becomes one with the cross, absorbing completely the burden of sin, allowing it to permeate him. All the rage, the loneliness, and the anxiety, and despair, and hatred, and lust, and greed, and incessant lies of all mankind through all the ages, sinking into him, filling him up. Jesus is bombarded with poison, and he still loves us. The 12th station, Jesus dies on the cross. From noon onward, darkness came over the whole land. Jesus hangs on a cross with but a few faithful at his feet. Even captured on a cross and expiring from the torture, there is no mercy for him. Yet he pleads for mercy for us. And in his passion, without solace, alone in the midst of the crowd, he is a man utterly alone. At this moment, filled with all the despair of every human heart, he tears the veil between man and God and plunges into the total hell of sin to purge it for us. It is the final acceptance of death. Jesus cries out again in a loud voice and gives up his spirit. The veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, rocks were split. The centurion and the men with him who were keeping watch over Jesus feared greatly when they saw the earthquake and all that was happening. And they said, "Truly, this was the Son of God." The 13th station, Jesus is taken down from the cross. Throughout her son's final mourning, Mary has walked the grueling path to Golgotha by his side. Just as she said yes to the angel Gabriel, her son accepts his destiny. As Jesus' body is given to his mother, she cleans it lovingly and wipes away the signs of the evil inflicted upon it. The 14th station, Jesus is laid in the tomb. Jesus' body is carried to a borrowed tomb. Jesus spent his public life preaching, healing, and helping others. He promised good things to those who followed him. But here he was, dead from crucifixion. At this moment of sorrow and failure, his followers had abandoned him. Here is a man who was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another village. He worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30. Then for 3 years he was an itinerant preacher. He never owned a home. He never wrote a book. He never held office. He never had a family. He never went to college. He never traveled 200 miles from the place he was born. He never did one of the things that usually accompany greatness. He had no credentials but himself. While still a young man, the tide of popular opinion turned against him. His friends ran away. One of them denied him. He was turned over to his enemies. He went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed upon a cross between two thieves. He was buried in a borrowed grave. 2,000 years have come and gone, and today he is a centerpiece of the human race and leader of the column of progress. Of all the armies that ever marched, of all the navies that sailed, all the parliaments that ever sat, and all the kings that have ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as has that one solitary life.